Hello everyone, welcome to a quick and easy tech. Today we're going to talk about SQL Server. We're going to have a full session of SQL. So we're going to have my full session will be is going to be how to master the SQL in one session. I don't know how long this is going to take, but I just whatever would take us. So we're going to create database tables. We're gonna choose the right data types. We're going to use a select, insert, update, and delete statement, and also we're going to talk about how you can use the transaction and the command rollback, and how you're going to group by, and then how you're going to join the tables if you have multiple tables. And also we're going to talk about the identity column, constraint, and keys, primary keys and foreign keys. So let's just start off with the introduction. So what is the SQL? SQL, it stands for structured query language, and that language used to communicate with the database always, and also used to perform like a lot of tasks like update, delete, create, drop, and from a database. And what is the RDBMS? And that stands for Relational Database Management System. And you see that there is like multiple companies that using relational database, and like Microsoft, they have their own SQL Server, and like IBM, they have their own database management. They have their own database environment. They call it DB2. Oracle, they have their own MySQL, and then PostgreSQL also. But in this session, I am going to use specifically SQL Server Management Studio. They call it SSMS. So in this following operations and the command, I'm gonna use two different ways to show you, like when you want to create a database, there is two ways. There is one with the queries. You have to write the queries, the script queries, or you can do it from the designer, which is a user interface designer. I'm gonna try to do both of them at the same time. So I'll create, rename database and everything. So I'll just start off with the database first now. How we're gonna create a database, how we're gonna rename a database, and then how we're gonna delete the database. We're gonna do it. We're gonna talk about database now. How we're gonna do it in SQL queries, and how we're gonna do it in Query Designer. So let's just I have my SQL Server. This is my environment. This is SQL Server Management Studio, and in order to create a database, I have my so I have this Management Studio already installed in my computer. I'm gonna have another video to show you how to download the Express version, and then you download the computer. And so this is my connection here, database, and here is my server name. So what I'm gonna do now, since I have already installed my Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio SSMS, so I'm gonna create a database. There is two ways. So this way here, they call it let me show you here. So let's say this section, it's the query section. You're just gonna type here. You're just gonna type like create a database, and then also, and this section, like for example, if you want to create a database from the designer, from the query designer, which is user interface, here you go. So what are you gonna do now? You go to a database, and then you right click, and then you're gonna create a new database. So this section, they call it user interface. So this is a user interface. They call it a query designer, and in this white pen here, they call it SQL queries, SQL Server queries. So this is the script we are scripting in this white pen here. After we're scripting, we have to press on execute to execute the whole statement. So you have designer section, user interface, and the queries. All right, so let's just start how we're gonna create a database. All right, so we're gonna create a database. Create a database, and then just give it a name. You just choose any database you want. Let's call it. We're just gonna call it SQL database. This is gonna be my SQL database. Just the name of the database. Just the name. You can pick any name you want. What you're gonna do? You can just highlight it, or like if you don't have multiple queries here, you can just highlight it, or you can add a semicolon here to end the statement. It doesn't matter. But the best way, just because I don't have multiple queries in the bottom. So if I have multiple queries here, multiple scripting, and if you click on the execute, you will execute the whole things here. So all the time, you just have to be careful. Highlight the entire query, create database. My database is going to be SQL database. And then hit execute. So now, command completed successfully. If you go to Object Explorer and then you're going to refresh, right click and refresh. This is my database here. SQL database. That's my database, and then this is my tables, views, database diagrams, and everything. And now, in order to create this database from the designer, you just click on databases, right click in new database. That's the designer, and then you just have to type the name of the database you want to create. SQL, let's say database. Let's say give it any name here. As soon as you click OK, you will be creating a database. We don't want to create it, we just have it now. We already create one here. So now what is the next? What we're gonna do, how we're gonna delete the database, how we're gonna delete the entire database, or which is a drop actually the database. So in query section, you're gonna do a drop database, and then you have to type the database name. You have to get the database name. That's the name of the database. Or on the designer section, right click on the database that you want to delete, click on it, and then click on delete. When you click on delete, it's gonna ask you if you have multiple data. Okay, you just have to click OK. When you click OK, you will delete the database. So if you execute, let's just execute this query here, drop the database. So command completed successfully. If you refresh the database, see the SQL database has been gone. So let's just create a database again, and then we're gonna okay, for example, and now you want to rename the database in case you want to rename it, like you create a database now, and then now you want to you change your mind, you want to change the name of the database. For example, how we're gonna do that? So you already have the database created. There is two ways also. That SQL database, the database we just created, right click, and then you go rename. You're gonna rename it. Or what you're gonna do, in the query section, you're gonna do alter a database, and then you have to give the name of the database. That's my name of the database. All right. So what you're gonna do now? You're gonna do a modify. No, sorry, just get rid of the semicolon. Modify. Modify what? You want to modify the name. Equal, and then you're gonna provide the name of the database, the new name of the database. Let's say I want to create SQL. Let's say database test. Let's say SQL database test. Just execute this query. The database name, database test, has been set. If you go back to the designer, refresh it. Okay, so refresh it. Look, it changed from database to SQL database test. This is all you that's the first way. There is another way how you rename your database. We're going to use a store procedure. So you're going to do store procedure is going to be the abbreviation, a shortcut SP, which is store procedure. And then what we're going to do now, we're going to have underscore rename DB, which is rename DB database. And then we're going to have a single quote, and we're gonna type the name of the current database. So this is my new database now, right? The one I just created. Forgot about this one now. So this is our new database here. Test the current database, and then a single quote, and then you have a comma, and then you're gonna have another a single quote. A single quote, and then you're gonna type the name of the new database. So another name, let's say SQL database. Let's say this time database, let's say movies, and then you're gonna have another a single quote, and now it's just gonna execute the query. Highlighted, selected, database name, database movies has been set. If you go to the query, if you go to the designer, refresh the database, we have SQL database movies has been changed. So we changed it 3 times, from SQL database to SQL database test to SQL database movies. All right, though, let's just get I just want to change it back to SQL database here. Okay, go back to my original one here. Execute it. Oh, sorry, because we changed the database now, right? So this is going to be the opposite here. Hold on a second. So we're going to have the movies, because the new database, my current database, it's SQL movies, and then I want it back to SQL database here. All right. You know what? Just I don't want you to get confused. Let's just start over again. We're gonna drop the database. We're gonna drop the database, and then that's my database name. That's the current database. Let's just refresh. Copy the name. That's it. Drop it. We don't have it now. We're gonna create a database. So get rid of this. So this is gonna be my new database now. If you refresh, I don't have database anymore. It's all gone. The one I just created. So I'm gonna create this database now. Create database. Database completed successfully. Refresh. I have the database back here. So let's just talk about what we're gonna talk about. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. Let's start with the tables here, tables and columns. We're going to show you how you're going to create tables, and then how you're going to create table, and then how we're going to add the columns. How we're going to add new column, how we're going to add columns to existing tables, drop tables, rename tables, modified column data type, and drop table. Let's just go back to SSMS, which is they call SSMS, Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. So what we're going to do, we're going to create a table. How are we going to create a table? Create table, and then we have to give it a name, any name you want. Let's say I want to have a customers, right? Customers. That's customers. That's the name of the database, and then what column you want to have? Columns, right? You want to have like first name, last name. You want to have a zip code. You want to have address. Columns. What do you want? How many columns? Let's say I want to have a customer database. I want to have ID for the customers, right? And then I want to have, so the data type will be integer. What does that? Okay, so let me just type. Okay, so that's integer. Why I picked integer? Because integer, it's going to be this is going to be only numeric. I do not want to have like a string or like letter or special character inside my ID. I want to have only name. I want to have only like numbers here. I want to have like numbers, for example, one. I want to have like numbers, any numbers, only numbers. No letters, no symbols, no special symbols or something. Only numbers. And I'm going to talk about the data type also. So integer, and then what I'm going to do now, I want to have my identity. I want to have the identity set 1, 1. What does mean identity? What does mean identity? So identity columns, it's exactly, this is like automatic, like auto number. Like for example, I don't want to have like for example, so if I'm gonna have a multiple columns here, I want to insert like a first name, last name, and everything. I don't want to provide the ID every time I have to type the ID. I want to have some kind of like automatic input. So the identity is like automatic input will insert numbers automatically to my data and start with 1. So the seed with 1 and the increment with 1. I'm gonna start with 1, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the increment is going to be by 1. If you have like the increment 2, what's going to happen? You're going to start with 1. You're going to have like 2. You're going to have 1, 3, 5, 7, you know. And the same thing, if you want to start like with 1,000, you're going to start with 1. 1,000, 2,000. But this one is the most common, is the 1 to 1. And also, let's just start with this. So let's just create another column. I'm going to call it the first name. And then for the data type for the first name, I'm going to have a varchar. I'm going to tell you why this is going to be a varchar here. A varchar, the length, let's say, is going to be 100 here. I'm going to have a last name. And the data type will be varchar. Another 100. What else? Let's say I want to have age. I want to have age to integer. What else? I want to have, that's it. Let's just add those. Close parentheses. We have open parentheses and we have close parentheses now. Did you see this is like highlighted in red because the system did not recognize what does mean customers. I don't have a customers in this database so far. I don't have it. If you go back, if you look, so we created database, right? We created a database called SQL database right here. But we are actually, this white pan, it's inside not the SQL database, it's inside this database. Within this database, SSI test my database. This is my another database now. How you know that? Because if you look here, it says available database. If you click on the drop down, you can choose any database you want. Select, choose. We created SQL database. If you execute this query, what's gonna happen? You're gonna have a table inside SSIS test database, not in my current database SS test. So what we're gonna do? There's another two options. You're gonna select the SQL database. Now when you create the table, the tables will go inside this database. Or what you're gonna do something called use. Let's say, okay, let's say you are selected, this database has been selected, right? And then, so we're going to do use a database and then you're going to type the name of your database, the one just created. What's going to happen if you highlight this query and execute it? Sorry. Okay, just get rid of the database here. Just use database. So use, and then you're gonna select this database. It's gonna, after you when you execute it, will automatically change the database from any previous database to your current database. See, has been changed here. So now let's go and create the table. Highlight the entire query and then execute. Command completed successfully. We created a table now. If you go to my database and then expand it and then expand the table, look, we have a DBO, that's the schema, customers. If you expand customers and expand columns, we have ID, first name, last name, and age. We have the ID, the data type, it's an integer, and first name varchar, and then we have integers, right? Let's just see, it's the time to talk about a data type. Okay, yeah, let's just talk about data type now. Okay, let's just create one more table. Let's say I have created my table, and then I want to add extra columns. I want to add like extra columns to my existing database, existing table. I have this one here, and then I want to add existing to my column. So how can I do that? What I'm gonna do now? Just go down, and then what we're gonna do now? You can let's just finish this. I'm gonna show you designer. So what are you gonna do now? You're gonna alter the table. Enter the table. Which table? The table it says customers here. Alter this table. This table now exists. And then what? After alter the table, we need to add. What do you want to add? We need to add a column. What are you gonna add? Let's say first name, last name, phone. Okay, let's have address here. Yeah, let's have address. Let's say we're gonna have, oh, you know what? Let's just gonna have a phone number. Phone number, exactly. We're gonna have a phone number, and you want to set the phone number to varchar. I'm gonna tell you why it's varchar also. So varchar is gonna be 100, but actually the phone number is not gonna be 100 because there is only 10 digits in the phone number. But I'm gonna have it 20. I'm gonna tell you why 20. I'm not gonna have 10 for some reason. And then like okay, so I want to add this table, this columns to the existing table. Just execute it. Command completed successfully. If you go back and refresh the columns, we added the phone numbers now, right? And so now what else? Let's just create okay, let's just drop the column, right? You want to drop a column, or you want to rename the table. Let's say you want to drop a columns now, like for example, I do not want to have the H. I don't want to have the H from the existing here. So what are you gonna do? If you right click from the designer, what are you gonna do? Like you don't want an H, just right click, delete it. Or from the query, what are you gonna do? You're gonna do some another alter here. So you're gonna do alter table, and then the name of the table. Now you copy and then paste the name of the table. Then you're gonna drop what? You're gonna drop H. Age. I don't want to have age anymore. I don't want to have it. You get the age here, right? It's highlighted, executed. Could not drop this constraint. So what are you gonna do now? You're gonna just add the column after the drop column. So drop it. we dropped it. Now if you go back to the columns and then refresh and see, did you see that we refresh it? After we refresh it, I just want to make sure this is running now. Yep, it's running. So now it's running. So the age has been dropped now. So what else you want to do now? Let's just go back and find out after we modify, drop the column, rename the table. So back, if you rename this table, right click and then rename it from here. Or when you're gonna do in the query section, how we're gonna rename it? We're gonna use the store procedures here, SP, which is stand for store procedure. We're gonna have a rename underscore and then rename. Rename what? You wanna rename the table. You want to rename a table, or you want to rename the columns. If you want to rename the table, rename the table. So now we're gonna have the same database we used, and then so we're gonna have a single quote, and then we're gonna have the name of the table, the current table, and then a single quote, and then we're gonna have a comma, a single quote. We need to have the new table names. Let's say you're gonna have customers what? Customers list, let's say, right? You're gonna have another a single quote, and then highlight the query and then execute it. Caution, changing path of part of it. So what are you gonna do now? Refresh. If you go to refresh it, look. Hold on a second. Let me just refresh the whole database now. Okay, yeah, expand it. Expand the table. Look, we renamed it now from customer to a customer list. Now we renamed it now. What else we're gonna do? Rename the table, drop the column, drop the table. We did drop the table. We did drop the table. It's so easy. You're just gonna right click and then you delete, and then you're gonna drop it. But if you want to drop the table from the query, drop table, and then you're gonna have the name of the table. That's our new name, table name. Highlight it and then execute it. Command completed successfully. If you refresh the database, we don't have a table anymore. It's all empty. Everything has been removed and clean. So back to PowerPoint, and let's see the requirements. So we're done with this part. Okay, let's just talk about a data type. Integer, first name, last name, and age, and also the we talk about like the phone number. So if you go back to Google, they just type SQL Server data types or SQL data type or whatever. What is integer? We talk about integer, right? So integer. So just go back to my management studio, and then here for the section, the integer. We said the integer. That's integer. That's integer number. Just a number, just a whole number, not decimal like 4.5 or whatever. It's only whole number. And also that's a positive. Also you can have a negative also. Like for example, you want to have like -44, -4, and -55 or something like that. So this is gonna be both. You can have minus and negative and the positive. And for a integer, there is like a limitation in the integer. If you go down to SQL Server and numeric, so that's the integer. You can have from 2 billion here, from 2. So this is actually 2 billion. Right? So you have from 2 billion 147 million and something 483,000. You can have a whole numbers. you go up to this number now. You can and then that's the integer. A big integer will be big. You have, what do you have here? You have 850. If you change the data type from integer to big integer, so you will have you can store up to 30. So you have 854 million. You got 36 billion, 372 trillion, and you have 223 quadrillion, I think they call it, and 9 quintillion, quintillion or something like that. That's a lot of numbers now. A lot of numbers now. And for example, why when you, like for example, sometimes you have to use a big integer. Why? Because for example, in your let's say you have a columns here. Let's say you're gonna have a column here. Let's call it YouTube most watched video, right? Most watched video. And then what do you want to for the data type? Because if you go back to a data type for a integer, you can store up to 2 billion. But what about if you have more than 2 billion? If you go back, if you go on Google, there is for example YouTube most viewed video, right? Like for example, I think Despacito. I think Despacito got more. Let's say about this. Okay, Despacito. Okay, let's just Google. Just look for Despacito. Okay, look, Despacito. The views. You get the views here. Like for example, you got most views here. Sorry, most views. So look, this is a 6 billion. You got 6 billion. So you cannot use integer in order to save the views. You have to have a big integer. You know what I'm saying? So back to okay, let's talk about the varchar. There is a varchar and there is something called unvarchar. There's a varchar and there is unvarchar. So there is a varchar and there is varchar. What is the differences between the varchar and varchar? Which is varchar stands for variable, a character, and varchar and national variable, a character. For example, let's say, so since you are in a US based company, they use only English number and English symbols or something like that. You don't have to use the national. You use the varchar only. But if you have, like for example, you have like a Chinese, let's say you have how are we gonna say hello in Japanese, right? So let's say you're gonna have hello, you're gonna have like a lot of first name, last name, like a Japanese or Chinese or any foreign language. You're gonna have a confliction because of the code page. So it's better to use varchar. That's the best. And also the developer always recommend to use varchar because sometimes you create a website information, somebody type a lot, so you don't want to have a confliction between like a web development and then with database. Like for example, there is like a website based like a Chinese website, and there is information you have to register, you have time information or something like Chinese language or Japanese or even Arab or any languages, and then the information will be saved to the database. You're gonna have a problem with the code page. So you always recommend to use varchar, so you don't have to have a problem with another third party or like website web development or something. Okay, so let's talk about okay, what is the length here? The length. See that? So the length here it's 100. You can have, like for example, that's a character. You can have 100 character here. So we said this is string. A varchar, it's string. It's not numeric. ID, it's a numeric. Only you store a number only. But in a varchar, which is this is string, you can have a lot of string to up to 100 the length. If you set the varchar, let's say to 2 here, you can store only 2 a character only. You cannot store 3. You need to store 2. You cannot store 3. You're gonna have a problem. So you can change this, and you can have a max. So there is like a max in varchar. There is a max also. And let's go back. So and then for the, let's talk about the so why I chose the phone number to a varchar. Why is not integer? Because phone number, it's integer, and I don't have to have integer. Can have like a tiny integer here. You can have from 0 to 255 a character, the length. Like for example, if you like you can have from 1 to 55, right? But the problem is, because of the length, what about if you have a hyphen? For example, you have like let's say 317. This is like a normal number, 10 digit. What about if you have hyphen between? You have hyphen between here. You can have a confliction also, because remember, it's if you use integer, this is integer, you store only number. But you can use a varchar, and you can have a limitation, the length 20. You can have 20 a varchar, or you can have 12. Let's say 12. You can have 12, because we have here you got 3 and 4. This is 10, and 2 hyphen. This is 12. It doesn't matter. I don't know. It depends on how you want to set up your data type. Let's just talk about the identity. What is the identity here? We said the ID. We're gonna talk about it, but let me just give you a quick. Let's just talk about it. So identity. Let's say for the ID, I want to start like the ID, right? I want to have the first insert row will be 1, the second will be 2, the third will be 3, and 4, and so on. That's like auto number. Start with 1 and increment by 1. Increment by 1, you're gonna have 2, and then increment by 1, you're gonna have 3. Increment by 1, you're gonna have 4. Like if you want to change the, so there is something called seed and increment, right? Increment. So you start with 1 and you increment by 1. You start with 1, increment by 1. So the next number will be 2. Increment by 1. The next number will be 3 and 4, and so on. What about if you want to start with 2? Let's say you want to start with 2. So what's gonna happen? You start with 2, and then you're gonna increment by 1. So the next record will be 3. Increment by 1. The next record will be 4 by 1 and 5, and so on. Okay, let's say you want to start. Let's say you want to start 3, and then the increment you want to increment by 2. So what's gonna happen? You're gonna start with number 3. The next record. Okay, so you're gonna start with 3. The increment by 2. 2 plus 5. 2 plus 3. You're gonna have 5. The next number. Increment by 2. You're gonna have 7. And then increment by 2. The next record will be what? Will be 9, and then so on. That's exactly what this means. Seed and increment. Okay. Let's just talk about what. I think we're almost done with this. Data type, rename, column. Okay, let's talk about data, rows, and record. How can I set record? Just delete these things here. Since I dropped my table, right? Let me just recreate a table again. So I don't have a table. Refresh. I don't have a table here. You go my table and have a table now. Let's just I don't want to have the YouTube most views here. I want to keep the age, and also I want to keep the phone number. I want to add the phone number here. So get rid of those. Don't worry about those. We're done with those anymore. Okay, so now I want to have ID, integer, identity, which is going to be auto number, auto input, first name, last name, age, phone number. Let's just create this table. The table has been created successfully. Just refresh. Tables, we have the tables now. If we expand it, columns, we have it now. Okay, and then how I'm gonna insert? I'm gonna insert the row, the information. Okay, let's select the table. How am I gonna select the table? I want to see the ID, first name, last name, and age in this result pane. So what we're gonna do now? You're gonna select. You're gonna type select all asterisk. This is mean just all of them. That's mean all the columns, anything, and in all the columns. I'm not gonna specify, just all the columns. From where? From a customers. But you always, what are you gonna do now? Like for example, that's the customer exists. But for example, if you create, if you didn't refresh, and sometimes you have the little you need that like little the one like you have a red, the red under hold on a second. So what are you gonna do now? Always have a DBO, the schema. That's the schema. Sometimes you don't have schema. Sometimes you're gonna have a lot of tables. And for example, I don't want to have a default schema DBO. I want to have, okay, let's just copy this. So that's the schema, right? That's the schema. You can change the schema. For example, for this table, I know this is like just a random DBO. But let's say I'm gonna have a table. I'm gonna have a lot of tables that let's say I'm gonna have customers. Let's say I'm gonna have employee. That's a table, and then it's gonna be like a salary, right? There's two different tables. I don't want to have the schema. I want to specify the schema. I can change the schema. Let's say like the schema you want to have like product. I want to have the schema, and here the same thing. Product dot schema. You can change the schema from DBO to any schema you want. So but I always, when you try to like for example, if you have a lot of numbers and then like you don't want to type the name of the table, is going to be so always easy to type DBO dot customers. You get the customers here, and they're going to highlight it, select, and then execute. Now you got ID, first name, last name, and age, and phone number. It's displayed now in this result pane. Okay, now what we're gonna do? We need to insert some data, rows, record is all the same, rows and record, same name, data. So how we're gonna do? Like, gonna do insert. I'm gonna do insert. So we're gonna do insert. There is two ways also, designer and the query. Let's do this. Do with the query. Insert into what? Into the name of the table. DBO customers. I want to insert inside a customers, and then I'm gonna have an open parentheses. Now I don't want to provide the ID, because remember the ID will be auto input. We're gonna have auto number. It's gonna generate a numbers now. Did you see that the customers? It's we're gonna see that the red things here came out. So what we're gonna do? We'll just go to edit, IntelliSense, and the local refresh local cache now. And also what we're gonna do, you wanna input insert names, first name, last name, and age, and phone number. Let's just we have to specify. Let's say okay, so I wanna insert inside the first name. So that's first name, last name. Did you see that? So just what you're gonna do now, in order to select the last name, you can use the mouse, double click, hover over it, Or like for example for the age, what you're gonna do, you can click on the down arrow on the keyboard and then hit tab. See that? Now you're gonna close parentheses, we're gonna have a values. But also you don't have to provide the column names here, because this is we don't worry about that ID. We can, because this is gonna be automatic input. Let me show you. Let's just open parentheses. I wanna add the first name. So since the first name it's a varchar, last name is varchar, age it's integer, we need to have a single quote between the name. Like for example, I want to have a name, let's say Adam, right? But you cannot, because this is string. What you're gonna do, you need to add a single quote and then another single quote. So the system now knows that this is string between two, anything between the two quotes. So now you're gonna add a comma, and then what do you want to add? We want to add the last name. Let's say Mike. Let's say Steve. But you need to add, again, you need to add the single quote and then another single quote, and then we're gonna add the age. The age, let's say 30. You don't need the single quote, because this is numeric, and then close parentheses now, right? Let's just highlight it and then execute. Why is that? The statement has been terminated. Okay, because of the, you know why I got didn't let me so this is statement did not execute it. You know why? Because if you go back to the table, refresh the table, and then see that the last name, the first name set, the variable character set to 2. See that? I forgot to change it. So we're supposed to have 100 here, right? It doesn't matter how many you want. It's gonna be 100, but so the length I set it on 2, so that means you cannot insert Adams. You need to insert only AD only. So back here, you got 2 options to change the length. You can do it from the query, or what you're gonna do, go to the table. Where is it? So you go to first name, right click, highlight it, and then modify. Click on modify. So now on modify, what you're gonna do, you can change the length here. Get rid of 2 and then 100. But look, when you're trying to now you finish, you want to save it. When you try to save it, look what's gonna happen. Save it, the system will not gonna let you to save it, because you have to re-drop the table and recreate it again. So in order to avoid this problem, what you're gonna do, you can go to tools, options, and I think designer. No, hold on. Yes, yeah, designer. And then see that it says prevent saving changes that required table recreation, and check it. Click OK. Now what's gonna do, save it again, has been saved. If you refresh the table, now back again. So now we can insert again. Okay, let's just select the table, make sure we don't have data. Okay, so what are you gonna do now? Select it now. Hold on, we forgot to provide forget about the phone number now. So I'll just execute, one row affected, select the table. Look, we got ID, first name, last name. So the ID is like you have auto input. It generated 1, Adam, Steve, and age 30. So now what are you gonna do? Like for example, you wanna, okay, so now let's say I wanna add the phone number also, right? Since we specified first name, last name, and age, we can get rid of this. We don't have to specify. We don't have to specify it with the ID. Forget about the ID. The ID is gonna be auto input. But I don't want to add. I don't want to specify the name of the columns here. if you don't want to specify it, you have to know exactly for the values. Let's say, okay, so that's the first name. Let's get rid of it, so I know that I don't have to specify the ID. I don't have to provide the ID here. So that's the first name. I know that's the, so this is my table, right? That's my table. So first name, that's the first name. Last name, I know. Age 30, and then let me add the phone numbers here. So the phone number is gonna be, let's say, something. Okay, but let me change the name here. So I'm gonna be Sarah here. AJ, and then let's say she's 25 here. Highlight it and then execute. One row affected. So we have the phone number now inserted, and we have ID too. So we didn't provide the name of the columns, only the values. But you need to know you cannot, because based on the order you cannot. Let's say this way, right? Let's say I want to add the phone number in front of the first name, right? Let's get rid of this. We have 4 columns now. I don't have to provide the ID. I want to provide first name, last name, age, and 4. So I have 4 columns now. This is 4 columns. Let's see what's gonna happen. If you insert it, the system will not gonna let you, because the system thinks that the first name, it thinks that exactly. So it thinks that the phone number, it got confused. 1, 2, 3. You got confused on the age, because we can add the phone number to the first column. That's varchar. You can add phone numbers, you can add letter or mixed. Last name is exactly, this is right. But the ID, because this is integer, we are trying to insert, this is string, a 2-letter inside the integer, numeric. That's why I got confused. Conversion field with a varchar value AJ. You see that? That's AJ. So you don't want to do that. If you want to do that, what you're gonna do, you have to specify the table now. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna have a phone number. Specify. I want to enter the phone number, and then first name, and say, let's say I want to add the age, and then it's gonna be the last name, right? And then close parentheses. Now what are you gonna do? We have the phone number here, first name here, and then we need to get the age. Let's say he's 20, and then the last name, let's just provide any name here. Let's say Sam. All right. Johnson. See that? We change. We know this is, so the phone number is gonna match the first insert. First name. We have double quote. Age. Last name is gonna match the 4th one. When you try to insert it, row affected. Certain. See that? We got everything. So that's the first name, last name, and age. So we are done now. Okay. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, we want to use a where clause. Okay, let's say so this is we insert those, right? We want to let's say you have millions or thousands of records here, record or rows, same thing. I want to only filter by I want to pull up only John. How can I do that? You need to use a where clause. So also when you use the asterisk here, you're gonna select everything, all the columns at the table. But for example, you want to like specify, I want to have only let's say first name and last name also. I don't want to have the asterisk here. So first name, it's a capital letter. So first name, and I want to see last name only. Highlighted, selected, only first name and last name, right? Let's say I wanna see. Let's just go back. Okay, let's say I want to filter. I want to see only the information that belong to John, right? So I select this. This is wrong. It's not supposed to be like this. Okay, let's say yeah, let's say Sam. Last name was Sam now. First name and last name. So what I'm gonna do now? Select all from. I want to select all the columns also, but belong to this name. I want to see ID, first name, last name, age. So what I'm gonna do that? I'm gonna use a where clause. Where what? Where first name. If you have the ID, if you know the ID of the person, will be so easy. Where ID, because Ali gonna have a unique number. ID 4. Select all where ID is 4. You're selecting the entire record now for this guy. Let's say let's say you want to see you want to pull up information that anybody start with the first name, first name equal to what? Let's say equal to, okay, let's say I have Sam. Let's say I'm gonna have another record now. Okay, let's say this. I'm gonna insert this record now. Let's say Mawir, and then okay, so the last name is gonna be the same last name. More affected. Let's select the table. Let's say I wanna see anybody has a last name Sam. Anybody have last name Sam? I want to see their record. So where first name, where last name is what is equal, because this is string. Remember, you have to have a two single quote Sam, let's say, and then a single quote again. Select the query. See that anybody with last name Sam, we filter them, we select them. This is filtered. We filtered by last name. We're using a where clause. This is, they call it a where clause now. Okay. Where else? You want to get the you want to delete. Let's say let's talk about delete now. So delete. What do you want to delete? What do you want to delete? Let's select the table. You want to delete the whole table, or you want to delete a specific record now? Let's say I want to delete ID number 4. ID number 4. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do delete. Sorry. Let's say delete from the name of the table, DBO customers, right? If you select this statement, you will delete the whole record, the whole table. You're gonna delete all 4 of them. You're gonna delete 1, 2, 3, 4. You don't want to do that. So you want to filter. You want to delete only, let's say, someone with ID number 4. I want to delete this entire record now. We're gonna do that. So delete from DBO customers. Where? I'm gonna use a where clause. Where the ID, because ID, remember, it's a unique number. You cannot have a duplicate. If you set the ID to a primary key, equal to what? Equal to 4. I want to see it all records belong to ID number 4. Delete. If you select the table, so number 4 has been deleted. Let's say you want to update, right? Like the phone number. The phone number is null. I want to update it. I want to insert a phone number in this section. I want to have a phone number instead of null. So we're gonna do that. So we're gonna do update. You're gonna update what? You're gonna update the table, the name of the table, customers, and then you're gonna do set. What are you gonna set? You're gonna set the phone. You're gonna set the phone number. The phone number equal to what? I want to set the phone number because remember the phone number, it's a varchar, right? So you want to set the phone number to what? I want to set the phone number to let's say this is my new number, 55555555. But what's gonna happen now if you try to execute this statement? Since you did not use a where clause and you did not specify which record, you're gonna update all the phone numbers. All records has a phone number. You're gonna have 55555. You're gonna update all the phone numbers here. You want to specify. You want to use a where clause. Where what? I want to specify by the ID. This person, his ID is 1. Where ID is equal to 1. Sorry, you have to have a capital letter here. Equal to 1. I want to update only this section, only this record. Highlighted and then execute. 1 row affected. Select the table. We update the phone number now. See that? We update the phone number. So let's go back again and see what we have here. Where clause update delete. Okay, you want to add constraint. What does mean constraint? We talked about the identity columns. Let's talk about the constraint. What does exactly constraint mean? Constraint, it's just like used to limit the range of the value that can be entered to our columns. What exactly that mean? Let me just give you a conclusion. For example, I'm gonna have age here, right? This is age here, 30, 40, 25. What about if someone, his age by mistake, like let's say example, let's gonna add this record now. Right? Let's say this person, his name is John, and the last name will be Oliver. Let's say his name by mistake, because remember the data type integer can accept negative and positive, right? Let's say you add a minus by mistake. Someone's his age minus 45. No way. Let's say you're gonna insert this record. See what's gonna happen. 1 row affected, and when you try to select the table, someone his age is 45 minus 45. There is no way someone his age is minus 45. We need to add constraint, the check constraint on age. We need to we cannot. We need to add we need to specify, like for example, I want to have someone, his age is from 1 all the way up to, let's say 100 or 150, and I can enter any number between 1 to 50, or from 0, let's say from 0, yeah, from 1 to, let's say from 1 to 100. I want to have someone from 1 to 150, let's say 150, right? If anybody can enter 151, it's not gonna work, or like minus, let's say 100, is not gonna work. So I'm gonna do that. There is two ways also. You can go to the designer here. So what I'm gonna do now, this is my table, that's my table, right? Click on tables. I have customers now, right? So what I'm gonna do, expand the tables, refresh. Okay, refresh the database now. Go to tables now. If you go to views, no, tables, expand the tables, and then expand the columns. When you expand the table and then expand the table, and then see that you have this folders. You got columns, keys, constraint, triggers, indexes, and statistics. We don't have, if you expand this constraint, we don't have, it's empty, we don't have no constraint. You can right click, new constraint. You can add constraint from here. Let's just gonna add one. We're gonna set the expression, but first we need to know, because this is pointed to the table. So a blank is not allowed. Okay, so that's the new one. Okay, so now what we're gonna do now, we need to have some kind of expression now. What do you wanna? I want to build the expression based on the ID, right? So what I'm gonna do now, that's the ID here, right? The ID. So I'm gonna do ID. No, sorry, not the ID, the age. I want to set the restriction on age. I want to get the age. Let's say the age is gonna be equal, greater than 0, and age less than 150. And for the identity, this is CK, that means check constraint customers. Customers, the name of the table, and then it's gonna be just so if it's easy for us to add the name of the column. So I'm gonna have age. So this is gonna be like a nice name, CK, which is check constraint, customers, and ID age. So that means there is something going on between the columns, the name of the column, age, and the name of the customers. So easy to identify it. So age less than 0. Sorry, I need to have sorry. Age it's greater than 0. Oh, sorry. Greater than 0 and age less than 150. Okay, so when I have age supposed to be greater than 0, not 0, 1 and up, and less than 150, which is 159 and down. So I'm done with this. What are you gonna do? You're gonna just add the age. We added the age here. Okay, just close. Sorry. Okay, I just have to. Okay, so I just delete the other one. So that's my new check constraint now. Close it. You're gonna save it. See that the things came up again because you have to. What are you gonna do? You're gonna go back again to with this knowledge. So let me just make sure I don't have a constraint. Let's just start over again. So constraint, right click, get rid of those. Just delete all of them. Let's just start over again. So I'm gonna add a new constraint now. So I want to specify the age. So age, I want the age is gonna be greater than 0 and age less than 150. Sorry, this is supposed to be greater than 0. Okay, and less than here. Okay, and then I'm gonna just add it's gonna be age here. So I'm gonna have a nice name, CK customers age, which is gonna be the name of the table and name of the column. So I'm done now. So it's been saved now. So click OK, save it, unable to add. What is that? Just go back and refresh. Why don't let me do like this? 1 second, let me just drop all the constraint now. Just delete column now. Save it. Okay, so I don't have no constraint now. Okay, so now let's just go back again, and age supposed to be greater than 0, and age supposed to be less than 150. Less than 150. Identity, we said this is going to be age here. We saved it now, supposed to be saved now. Click OK. I found the problem. Do you know what is the problem? Because if you go back to the table, remember, if you select the table, I already inserted the age minus 55. I supposed to get rid of it because I'm doing data integrity now, referential integrity now. If you try to do it, it's not going to let you because you're trying to set the age between 0 and 150. 150. You cannot do that if you have a bad. This is a bad data. Age 55. You have to get rid of it first. So in order to go rid of it, what we're going to do now, we have to delete it. We're going to use a delete. So we're going to use a delete now. Delete. Okay, let's gonna do update instead of delete. Update table, and there's gonna be DBO, the name of the name of the table. Okay, so no, sorry, we don't have to update here table. Okay, just update DBO, not update table. Update DBO is gonna be customers, right? And then we're gonna have a set what? We need to set the age. We need to set the age equal to what? Let's say age to 45, not 45, let's say 50, right? But we need to specify, we need to use where clause where the ID is going to be equal to 6, only this age. ID is equal to 6. Update, one row affected. If you select, we update it now. Now we can get the we can create the constraint again. So let's just drop all of those, all of them, create new one now. Let's set the age again, the name of the column, age is gonna be greater than 0, and age is gonna be less than 150, and then we're gonna add the name of the age here, so we can have a nice name, CK check constraint customers and age. Now what we're gonna do now, we're done. Close it, save it. Look, has been saved now. Go back again, and if you try to refresh, you have a check constraint here, customers and age between the tables and the column. Okay, now what are we gonna do now? Try to insert a 45 now. Let's try to insert this table. We have age to 45. Let's try to insert it now. See what's gonna happen. Insert it. Look, it says the insert statement conflicted with the check constraint, the one check customers age. The conflict occurred in database table because of the column. See that? Because we set, if you go back here and check what's going on here, for example, you have a lot of check constraint. You don't know what is the expression. You go back here, you double click on it, so you know you cannot insert anything below 0 and anything above 150. So you're supposed to have 1, 2, 5. So let's say, okay, let's insert, let's say this time, let's say 149. 149 is gonna work. Select the table. But what about you want to insert so 149? When you want to set 150, you cannot get the you can't get a 150. You can add equal here. What you're gonna do? You can add equal, greater than or equal to 150. Save it. You go back again. Try to insert 150. Has been inserted now. If you selected, let's say 151, you cannot. You can insert the 151. Okay, we done with this part. Let's just talk about. Let's just go back to the PowerPoint. See what we have here. So the add constraint, transaction, commit and rollback. Let's talk about the transaction. Transaction is very, very, very important. Okay, let's just select the table. Right? Okay, we have this table now, right? It just like a little bit look messed up now because I have a duplicate data. So a transaction. You want to do like this, for example, you want to do some insert, right? You want to do insert here. And by mistake, like for example, this is 999, just gonna type any numbers here, some numbers here, right? That's a phone number. You can insert it, it's supposed to be fine. No, I sorry, just change the age. 55. Okay, what's gonna happen if you try to, let's say, okay, well, I'm gonna do another insert here. Another insert. Let's say this is gonna be some numbers, and then you're gonna have some like AJ last name. Let's say gonna be DJ. AJ and DJ. So on this gonna be 50 here. 50. Now what's gonna happen? Let's say if you have a multiple insert here, you have a lot of insert here, a lot of insert statement, and when you try to insert all of them, let's say we're gonna have let's say we're gonna have one more here, right? Let's say this is gonna be, let's say you're gonna have Adam here, so 50. 59. Okay, let's just drop the okay. So let's say because like the phone number, not the phone number. Let's talk about the age, right? Because we set the age on 50, and the age it's integer, right? We know that constraint. Okay, let's talk about phone number. Let's talk about ID. Okay, let's just change. Let's get rid of the chain constraint. Let's say I don't have a chain constraint here, right? And for example, you have multiple insert, a lot of insert here, a lot of insert now. Now you don't have a restriction on age because this is set to integer, and integer you can have a 2 billion. You can have a 2 billion. See that the integer? You can have a 2 billions here. You can have a 2 billions. And what's gonna happen if you add a lot of numbers by mistake? Not the first one. Let's say the second one. You got a lot of numbers now. By mistake. A lot of numbers. And the same way you have a lot of inserts now, it's been inserted now. You have multiple insert, you have a lot of them, and you don't want to go through all of them. Probably you're gonna have a problem with the ID, add numbers and some letters and something like that. and you try to execute all of them, you have like a lot of insert now, and then by mistake you want to know which one is got inserted and which one did not executed. Like sometimes, like, okay, let's talk about this one now. Let's talk about this one right now. Let's try to insert this statement. Okay, select the table now. By mistake, let's say you wanna insert this query, right? Okay, let's just open a new query. Now this is a new query, right? You have a problem here with this section. You have a lot of insert now. You wanna execute all the insert now. Execute. Look what happened now. When you execute, it says incorrect syntax. If you go back, hold on a second, what is the name? When you insert them, let's say the first one you inserted and then the second one did not insert. Hold on a second. Let's say you're gonna have like a lot of them, because this is not gonna go through because you don't have a lot of inserts, so it doesn't go fast. Let's say you're gonna have a lot of them now, and then the first one got inserted, the last one got inserted, but the second one didn't get inserted, and you got a problem. You have like hundreds of records that did not inserted. You want to roll it back. If you have any problem with any of the insert, you want to have everything roll back. Like you have 100, right? And on the middle of the 100 or in the middle of 1,000, couple record did not insert it, and you want to have anything from 1 to the end of the rows that has a problem, you want to roll it back again because you want to start over again. You want to fix it and start over again. So what you're going to do, you're going to do a transaction, a rollback. A transaction is going to roll back for multiple. So how are we going to do the transaction? So the transaction, in order to do the transaction, you have to get a you're going to do begin try, and then you're going to have a begin a tran, which is going to be a transaction, and then you're going to give it a proper name. Let's say transaction 1, T1. That's the name of the transaction. And then your inserts supposed to be inside this transaction now. Right? Let's say you have delete here. Let's say also it's not only insert. Let's say even like delete. You have here delete. We have a delete on the other side. Let's just go back and look for the delete. Get rid of this. Okay, let's say you have delete where the ID is 4. Let's say ID is 5 now. You want to delete this. You have multiple queries now. Let's say you want to update the age. You got someone turned ID 6. Okay, let's say this guy he turned to 51. You want to change his age. You have multiple queries now. You have a lot of queries now. What else you have? Delete. Yeah, delete, insert, and update. So, and then you have a lot of them now, and on the middle one of them has a problem, and I don't wanna. I wanna fill the whole queries. I wanna roll it back again to the normal. I don't want this to be deleted. I don't want this to be updated, inserted. Even if it's went through, I want it to go back to the normal. I want to fill the whole. Let's say because I'm pretty much dealing with the SSIS, you can do it in SSIS so easy. SQL Server Integration Services. So we're going to do a transaction now. We begin the transaction. Now, this is our queries, right? Inside the transaction. What are you going to do now? Now we're going to do the commit tran, which is the transaction, and then the name of the transaction, the one we just created. And then we're going to end it. We're going to end the transaction. And then if this one went through, will be commit, will be applied, the changes will be applied, you will apply all the changes. But if one of them fail, I wanted to roll back everything, so we're gonna have else here. So we're gonna have else. How we're gonna get the else? We're gonna get begin another transaction. We're gonna have a catch, and then we want to roll back. What do you want to roll back? You want to roll back the transaction T1, and then you're gonna end the catch. So let me exactly show what's going on here. Just get this down. Okay, so this is going to begin the transaction. Begin transaction. We're going to try transaction. That's the name of the transaction, T1. You can have a delete, update, and insert. This is inside the transaction. Commit. If this is deleted, will be applied. This is going to be, you will delete from the table. Everything will be fine. Update will be updated. Everything will be fine. And if you have insert, this is going to go through, but this one is not going to go through because you got a problem with the age here. What's going to happen? If you commit, this will be deleted, this will be updated, this will be inserted. This is going to stop. The transaction is going to stop here. The query is going to stop here. This is not going to go through from this and down, but those will be inserted or deleted or updated. But I want to roll back here. I added a rollback here. If this is fail, I want to roll back this, and this. I want to roll back the whole queries. So that's how I have a rollback transaction T1, which is the name of the transaction. What I'm gonna do now, if you're gonna end the transaction, let's say you want to select, you're gonna select all of them, execute. Look what happened now. If you try to execute, there is some problem now. One row affected, one row affected, one row affected. The first one is affected. It went through. The second one affected. The third one, it's affected, but there is a problem on the fourth one. It says 0 row affected. It stops here. It didn't even take the fifth one. We don't have a fifth one. It stops here. But what's going on now? Even though it's affected, but it's rolled back because it's begin. We have the catch now. It's rolled back. There's a problem in this record, but it's rolled back. Nothing's supposed to be changes now. If you go back now and let's select the table. Look, nothing supposed to be changed now. So now let's just talk about another way of a transaction. Let's say let's just go back to the table. Let's say select statement. Right now I have this table. What I want to do now, I want to delete the entire record of 7. Let's say of 7. ID of 13. So I'm gonna do delete, right? So I'm gonna do delete here. Look what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna delete from DBO customer where ID equal to 13. Right, 13. And also, so I want to delete this record, the entire record, and I want to also update what? Update the customer DBO. Customers, I want to set what? I I want to set, let's say okay, let's say the age. Okay, let's say let's set the phone number. The phone number is gonna be, let's say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. Okay, I want to set this number where ID is equal to what? Let's say equal to 1. So what's gonna happen? I want to delete this record, the entire records with ID number 13, and I want to update the first name. I want to update the ID with number 1, the first record, and I want to update the phone number from 555 to this phone number. But I want to have this in uncommitted transaction, right? So let's just open new query, zoom in. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add it inside the uncommitted transaction. So I'm just gonna have like a regular, I'm gonna have a regular a transaction. I'm gonna have a begin transaction, right? But I'm not gonna have the entry or the commit or a rollback or something like that. I'm not gonna have none of that. Let's just what's gonna happen now. So begin transaction. Let's run this query, execute, one row affected, right? Now I want to see the data. So let's just open new query. I want to select the table again, select all from DBO, select the customer, then execute. Look what happened now. See that executing query? It just looping, keep looping. It's not gonna stop. Executing query, keep looping. It's not gonna show the data. Because if you go back to the transaction, I didn't commit it. If you have a commit, that means you're gonna apply the changes, the delete or update. But if you want to roll it back, you want to roll back everything. So what's gonna happen now? In order to stop the execution, and I want to see the data after I changed it. So what I'm gonna do now? Let's say I'm gonna set a transaction. Set transaction isolation level read uncommitted data. Why is that? You're just gonna have a double T here. Uncommitted data. So what's gonna happen now? If you select this statement, okay, let's just gonna have, because I don't have the connection, I'm just gonna create a new query, paste it, execute. Now execute it successfully. We're gonna select the table, select all, DBO, and the table. Now I'm able to see the table after I change it. So what I did, I got rid of the column, the record with ID 13. If you go back here, and then I also updated one with the ID. I updated to the new numbers now. But look what's gonna happen now. If you go back to the original execution, the transaction, what are you gonna do now? I don't want to commit it. If you type commit it, if you type commit, the changes will be applied now. But I want to roll it back. I want to see the I want like undo. You know when you have undo here, undo the transaction. You want to roll it back. So go back to the transaction. You're gonna roll back. Transaction. Roll back transaction now. Execute it and then go back to the table. Select the table again. You see a roll back again. So I got the ID 13, the ID with the record, the entire record with ID 13. I got it back, and I got the phone number now. So I roll it back. So that's mean it just roll back. That's mean I undo it. I undo the change. That was the perfect about transaction. So let's just talk about something else now. Okay, what is the differences between delete, truncate, and drop? So yeah, we finished with the transaction. Okay, so when we talk about the delete, that delete actually, you are deleting the columns, only the record, you know, and without changing the data type or trigger, or if you have indexes or views or anything related to the table. And when you truncate the entire table, delete, because you are using delete with where clause. So you are using delete. Okay, let's just go to the SQL Server here. Let's gonna open new query. Select from DBO customers now. Okay, so when you have a delete, you need to delete. What are you gonna delete? You're gonna you have to use a where clause. Like for example here, if you go back, you're gonna delete. When you are using a delete now from the table, you are using a where clause. You are specify with the ID number 5 now. If you go back, let's go back, select the table again. So where is the delete? So that's the delete. You want to delete only the record with the ID 5 here. But when you are truncating the table. You truncate the table. You are cleaning the entire table now. You cannot use a truncate. You cannot use a truncate with where clause. You cannot do that. You cannot use the truncate with it. So you're gonna do a truncate table and then DBO customers, right? Let's say, okay, so you have a delete. So let's say, okay, delete to number 5. Let's delete this record. See what happened. You delete it, select it. Let's say you want to truncate, you want to add where clause, right? Let's say you know add where clause where ID. You can even ID equal to what? Let's say it's 6. You want to delete the one with 6. You cannot use the truncate because you add, see that? Incorrect syntax near where clause. You cannot use a where clause here. So you're not specifying. You are deleting the whole table. Select. Let's truncate the table. Look, you are deleting the entire table. You clear the table. You cleared the all rows, all the records. That's the differences. And also drop. Drop mean, what does drop mean? Drop mean you are not cleaning the data. You are dropping the whole table. So you are basically get rid of the, okay, let's just do a drop. You are basically dropping the table. You cannot select the table anymore. The table does not exist anymore. See that? If you select refresh, you don't have a table anymore. It's all gone. So that's different. Delete, only delete the record. You deleting the entire record, you dropping the entire, table. You are deleting the whole table. And then truncate, you are clearing the entire record. You are clearing the first name, age, and phone number, but you're without dropping it. So let's just talk about what's next. Okay, so we're done with this. Let's just gonna create multiple tables, and then we're gonna use a where clause, and then we're gonna join them, then we're gonna add the foreign keys to it. Let's gonna go and create we're gonna create like multiple tables now, and then we're gonna use a join clause. So let's just gonna open I have a lot of tabs. Let's close all these tabs here. Okay, let's gonna have a new query now. Right, let's say I want to add, let me just create another table, and I'm gonna use the same table now. Okay, so this is gonna be a customer, right? So I want to use same table now. Create customers. I want to get this table ID, first name, last name, age, and phone number. All right, and now phone number. What I'm going to do now, just create this table, execute. We just create a table. Now we're going to select it. DVO customers. Okay, now I want to add another table. I'm going to call it let's just create a second table. I'm going to call it product. Let's say this is going to be a product table. Product, and then create table product. What kind of column, how many columns you want? I want to have like multiple columns. Let's say I'm gonna have ID for product, and this is gonna be integer, and then it's gonna be identity, gonna be one proceed and increment, right? And also, and then what else you want? Let's say I want to have ID. Let's say I'm gonna have a name, product name, and the product name will be varchar. Let's say 100. No, it's not gonna be 100. It's gonna be 20. And then I'm gonna have price. I'm gonna have a decimal. Why I'm gonna have a decimal? Because remember, the price, it has a decimal like 4.99 or 45.56 something. So I'm gonna be a decimal. That's it. And then just gonna create this table, identity, okay, product. Create the table, and then select this table. Product. Okay, let's get rid of this, and then product now. See, we don't have the table now because it's not refreshed in the local cache. Go edit, IntelliSense, and then local, refresh local cache. If you type the data again, you have the table back again. So select the table. Now I'm gonna add, let's say I'm gonna add another table. I'm gonna create it table. I'm gonna create the table. It's gonna be orders, right? And then for a data type, sorry, tables. Let's say I'm gonna have order ID, and this is gonna be integer, right? And identity, I want to have auto number auto inputs now. And then let's say I'm gonna have a customer ID, not customer, integer. I'm gonna type this, and then I'm gonna explain one more time. Then I'm gonna have a product ID. I think that's it, integer. Why I have all those tables now? So I have a customer's ID, first name, last name, age, phone number, and also I have another ID table, product. That's the ID belong to the product, and then the product name, and then the price. But for the orders table, a different story, because you have to be careful, especially with the order, like because you are joining. So when you custom the columns, you just have to, because this is going to be related to both of them. This is going to be the order ID, belong to the order. That's ID belong to the product. This ID belong to the customers. Sorry. And then this is going to be auto inputs for order ID automatically. For the customer ID, because I'm doing a joining now, because the customer's ID, I want to match. So the customer's ID will come from where? Come from here. Customer ID is going to be the same ID. The same ID for the customer is going to be here. Going to be matched. The same customer. And also the product ID, I want to have product ID the same with this one here, with the product ID. Product ID here in the orders table is going to match the ID in product. Let's just create this table. Okay, now I'm going to select it. I need to select the order. Let's just refresh the local cache. Tell us since refresh local cache. Now we need to select the orders. Now we got orders. So now if you select all of them, we got 3 different tables here: customers, product, and order. So let's just gonna do some insert here. I want to insert what I'm gonna do now. Let's just gonna open new query, right? And I'm just gonna type. I'm gonna add a lot of query. I'm gonna add a lot of. Let's just copy and paste. Okay, let's copy and paste these things here. I need to do a lot of insert now. Let's say for the here customer ID. Okay, let's just get. So I'm gonna do a lot of insert now. Let's say I'm gonna do insert for a customer first, right? So insert into DBO customers, and then I don't have to add the ID customer, so it's gonna be first name, and then let's say I'm gonna be last name, and also I'm gonna do the age, phone number here, and then the values. Let's say this is gonna be okay. So the first name will be, let's say John. Okay, phone number. Let's say this is 20. Phone number 786. Okay, that's we done with this part. Copy. I'm gonna do 4 inserts here. Change the name, Adam. Let's say this is gonna be this is age theory. Phone number. This guy is 40. And for this guy, his name is Mo. Okay, so I got 4 inserts now. Let's just insert 4 of them. We got 20, 30, 40. Let's change this guy here. Let's say this guy is 19. Insert, execute, terminated, Y. Binary, truncated, terminated, you know why. So we have first name, last name, age, and a phone number. Go back here. Okay, because I have phone number as an varchar. So that's supposed to be string for phone number here. If you try to insert it, okay, why is that? Hold on a second. I set the phone number on what? Let me just go back and check the data type. I think I have problem with the data type. So customers, right? Columns, they have ID. This is identity, right? And first name. Okay, so the first name, see that we have a problem with the first name again. I supposed to modify, I supposed to add the length 100, let's say first name 100. Okay, so now we should be okay. Okay, now go ahead and insert all of them. Has been affected, so select the table. So now I have 4 records. Let's do another insert for product. So I'm gonna get the product now. Well, let me show you. I'm gonna get the product here. Insert for product. What do I have for product? So it's gonna be ID will be integer. So I'm gonna have jolly product name. Sorry. DBO product. And then open parentheses, product name and the price. Close parentheses, values. What do you want to add here? Product name. So I'm gonna have product name. Let's say this is TV, and the price will be, this is let's say 189.99. Right? So let me do another insert for product. The product doesn't matter. You don't have to watch for the IDs and everything, because this is, you can have any product ID. You just have to be careful, especially when you input data inside the order. I'm going to tell you why later. So this is going to be furniture. And let's say this one, car, no, this is gonna be laptop. Okay, the furniture will be, let's say 99.99, and the laptop, you get the laptop 149.99. Let me tell you something about the price here, because if you go back, we didn't explain much about the decimal here. If you look at the, what is it? I created tables. What are the tables? That one just created. Okay, so right here, see the price is decimal, so you have to be careful. If you go back to data type, look at the data type of the price. Go to products, expand columns. Look at the product price, decimal 18.0. What is that? What does that mean? So when you have a decimal, by default you're gonna have 18 comma 0. What does that mean? Precision mean precision here. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So precision is the 18, and scale is the one equal to 0. What does that mean? Precision is 18 and equal the scale to 0. That's mean you have decimals, right? You can have a lot of decimals from the left. So this is going to be the left side, and this one's going to be the right side. So this is going to be the left side. You can have 18 number of up to 18 number, and then when you have the dot, you can have 1 here, only 1. You have a lot of numbers here, and for the dot after that you're gonna have 1. If you have 2, like say for example, so I'm going to have 9 here. Let's go back here. By default, so let's go back here. Since I set my 99.99, this is gonna be, it doesn't matter here, this is gonna be 2. Let's just go back here and look. Okay, so let's say I'm gonna have 2 zeros, or let's say I'm gonna have 99, some numbers, 0.59. That's the 2, the scale. That's the 2, the scale. If you have 2, if the scale is in 2 and you have 3 number on the scale side, what's gonna happen when you try to insert the data? The 3 will be deleted. You're gonna have only the 2 because you set the scale on 2. If you got this number, and then if you have 18, it doesn't matter. You just need to have up to 18, even if you have one number, but you have it on 18, it's gonna be okay. But if you have the precision, it's in 5, let's say, right? 5, and then here you got 6 number, left side 6 number, right side 3 numbers. What's gonna happen? On the right side you're gonna have only 59, you're not gonna have the 3, and the left side you're gonna have only this, you're not gonna have the 5, you're gonna have a problem. That's why very important. So by default 8b0, can have 8 to 2. Let's say it's gonna be 2, and also decimals better than money. Or currency, because of calculation. If you have a lot of calculations, it's not good idea to have money, to set the money in a data type. Like in money, you can have money, you can have a money here. Let's say, what is it? Product ID, not the product ID, the price. You can have money here, but it's not a good idea. If you look around, all the dividers, they don't use the money because the calculation, if you have a lot of calculations, you have thousands of millions of dollars, you do a lot of calculations, you can have a problem with the round, or you can have with the floor or ceiling. So it's better to have decimals. to give you the accurate number with decimal. So that's pretty much about it about the decimal. Just go back here, over here. Okay, back to the table. So this is 3 product, right? We're gonna have 3 products. So the ID will be our inputs. So we're gonna have this ID, first one, second one, and the third one. Execute this, and then select the product. We have TV, furniture, and we have laptop. Look at the price. Remember what I told you? Look, if you go back and refresh, try to refresh, because it's 18.0. It didn't give us a 0. We don't have nothing beyond. We don't even have the point. We're supposed to have, what is that? The price supposed to be 190. Look, because that's rounded for the TV. Give us 188.99. We're supposed to set the decimals, the scales to 2 to give us exactly 189.99. So let's go back and fix it. So you can modify it from here, from the designer. What are you gonna do here? Get rid of the 0 and add 2. Save it. But look, you have to, because it have a confliction now. So what we're gonna do, let's truncate this table. Let's truncate the table. Products. Let's get rid of the whole records now. We delete it. We don't have record now. Now, after we change the data type, the length. Now you have decimals. Okay, sorry, I didn't even update it. So okay, so just save it. Now it's saved. You go back, refresh. Decimal is 18 to 2. Now, if we go back to the file, to the table, select, what is it? Okay, select, this is supposed to be empty. Insert the record, select it. You see that? We got it right now. The price 189.99, 99 and 99 and 149.99. So you just have to be careful. And what else? Let's just talk about also. You just have to be careful of the space. This is takes space here. If you look at the space here. You got space. You're not supposed to have space here. This space is actual a character. You see that? This is actual a character. If you have a problem, for example, if you have let's talk about if you have state here, for example, if you have another column, we're gonna call it state, right? And the state, you wanna add the state abbreviation to let's write it down. Let's say you have a column called state, and the state abbreviation is going to be 2 letters, like Florida or like California or whatever, and then you set the state, the data type, like a character only. Let's say the state, you said the state data type will be character to 2, only 2 character only, which is FL or California or like New York or something. Remember, when you do insert into let's say state or something, the values, let's just get the, let's say customer. So the value, let's get the value, provide the values. when you provide the values, let's say you're gonna have FL, right? This is gonna be okay. But when you do another insert, let's say California here, and you have space, you add spaces here. This is actually a character space. So you're gonna have the C and the space. You are not gonna have the letter A because because of the length of the character. Remember, the space, it's a character. So you're gonna have only CA. You just have to be careful. If you work in you can do trim. You can select and do trim. Trim from the left, trim from the right. You do a trim here. Trim from the left and trim from the right. And trim from the right. Anyway, to get rid of the spaces. Okay, so let's just go back. So okay, so now let's talk about I'm done with this. So product, we set the product, customers. Let's just get the order now. In order get the order. So the order, what's gonna happen now? You just have to be careful. So we set the order. We don't have to provide the ID because the ID will be automatically input. Because we have the ID, it's on identity. We just need to provide the customer as the ID and the product ID and ID. How gonna set the product customer ID or product ID? From here. So now we're gonna do another insert. Insert into DBO. We're gonna have a product here. I mean, oh yeah, orders. And then we're gonna have what? We're gonna have customer's ID. And then product ID. Right? Values. So what we're gonna do now? So you have the customer ID and the product ID. Be careful for the customer's ID. You make sure the customer is exists here. Where is the customer? This is the customer table. Let's say I want to insert customer 1. Customer 1. Customer 1, the product 1. Customer 1, he bought TV, he bought furniture, let's say. He bought a furniture only. Let's do another insert now. And then let's say customer what? Customer 4. He bought a TV. And customer 2, he bought a laptop. Let's just add one more. Let's say customer 1, he bought, it's not only a laptop, but he bought he's not only furniture, but he bought let's say he bought a laptop also. Select those. Now select all of them. Did you see that? Okay, look what's going on here. Guys, just look what's going on. So the customer, I have the product, I have the order. Order number 1. I have one customer. The first customer is named John Adam. He have 2 products. No, customer number 1, customer. So I have 1 and 1. This guy, same customer. He bought 2 things, 2 products. Product number 2, which is he bought furniture, and he bought product number 3, which is a laptop. Customer number 4, which is Mo, he bought product number 1, which is what? A TV. And customer number 2, which is Josh, he bought a product number 3, which is a laptop. I want to join all these tables. How can I join those tables now? How can I join all those tables together? What does exactly join mean? What does exactly join mean? Remember guys, there is a union. Let me just explain to you. There is what's union. Union merge. Let's talk about unional and join. What's the difference? So union only combining data. Combine data. Rows or record. And the join and join. What does exactly join mean? Join you are joining your join table, which is a tables columns. That's the difference. If you're combining the data, what does that mean? Union. You want to add, for example, you have multiple tables here. You have customers. This is customer 1, customer 2, and you have employee names. You want to add all the names, like first name, last name, and for the employee, customer 2, inside the customer, the first table. Only add data record. But join, you want to join the table, which is join the columns. Like for example, this is my table, first customer. I want to have the product name and the price columns here, and then I have order 1, and I have customers and customers ID. I want to have all of them here. I want to see the name of the customer. I want to see the price and the product and what did they buy. Each customer, what did they buy and how much and how many. That's exactly what does join mean. So let's just gonna do some join now. We're gonna open here a new query. It will be so easy for me. Select the table now, get the table, new query now. Select them, right? Let's get this a little bit down. But guys, before we do the join, we need to have a foreign keys. We need to have a relationship. If you go back to the PowerPoint, create multiple tables, join clause, foreign keys and keys. We need to have some kind of relationship between those tables. We don't have a relationship. There is no relationship between them. We know we have the same names and column ID and everything, but there is no relationship with them. Let's set first of all, let's just set a primary key for the product. I want to have a primary key on what? On the ID. What does mean a primary key? A primary key just mean unique. Like if there is one, you cannot have another one. You cannot have another one. That's unique. You need to have any numbers. But this, like the ID, you cannot have more than one numbers. That's unique. It's gonna be unique. You cannot have like 5 and then another add 5. No, that's duplicate. You cannot. That's what they call it, a primary key. Primary key. We need to set the primary key where on ID, because ID always unique. Because remember, you can have millions of product name, millions of first name, millions of last name, but you cannot have duplicate social security number or something, or passport number. So I'm gonna do it from the designer. So just select the so let's start over with the okay. Let's go. Okay, let's start with the customers now. See that I have no keys here. So columns, I want to have primary key on ID, modify, and then select the ID tab here, right click, set the primary key. We set the ID in primary. There is no way you can insert a duplicate ID here. It's not going to be no more duplicate. We're going to do the same way. Let's just save it. Go back and do for the orders. We cannot have a duplicate orders. We can have multiple customers names, multiple product names, but we can have a orders ID is only one. It's gonna be so modify again, and this is gonna be primary keys also. Now we're gonna do the same thing with the product. We need to have the product ID, not the product name or the price, only the ID. And then right click, set the primary keys here. Click OK. We're done now. Now there is a relationship. If you go back, refresh, and then expand the columns. Now if you expand the customers, look, you have something called ID, a primary integer. No, that's primary PK. And also if you go to keys, you got primary key belong to the customers. And the same way with orders. Now orders, we have primary keys and orders. Same thing with products keys, products keys here. Okay, now we're gonna build relationship. Now we have a primary keys. Now we need to have a foreign key. So what's gonna happen now? This is gonna be my first. This is gonna be, so this is a customer, right? I want to relate those. I want to relate this to this and this to this. So what I'm gonna do that, because I have a customer ID. I have a orders table, and in order table I have a customer ID. And because in the customer ID, this ID I already insert them, but I know when I insert them I have the record here. If you have, like for example, if you want to add a customer like 5, the ID of customer number 5, and you don't have it, you cannot do that, because you said, because we are going to build a foreign keys. You can do it right now. You can do it right now, but later, after we are going to create a foreign keys, you cannot add any customers ID is not exist in this table. The same thing with the product. You are not going to be able to enter any or insert any product ID that's not exist in this table. There is only 3. You can insert only 3. You cannot insert 4 or different product. You can do it now, but after we are setting, after we're going to add the foreign keys, you cannot do that. So how we're gonna do the foreign keys now? So the foreign keys, let's start with the orders. We're gonna do alter table DBO, and let's get rid the orders DBO. So this is gonna be the customers, and then we're gonna add, you wanna add a foreign key. Where do you want to add the foreign key? You want to add the foreign key customers on customers ID. Let me I can explain to you. References what? References the customers table and within the ID. Sorry, customers are supposed to have ID here. Why didn't it come up? Anyway, it's gonna be ID here. So look, this is that's the product, that's the name of the table. I want to add the foreign key inside the orders. I want to add the foreign key on product ID inside orders table. And the references, I want to reference this, I want to map it. If you are an SSIS, they call it map it. You want to map it, reference the foreign keys customer ID to the original customer table in the ID. In order ID, I called it, I rename it a customer ID. But in customer table, I name it ID. So that's a customer ID in an order table. And this is a customer ID, customer table in the ID column. What you're gonna do, just execute this. Foreign keys reference invalid. Okay, we have the name. See that? Let's go back and get the name. Look back here for the name, because look, if you select the table again, okay, so that's the order. What is the name of the column? It's not customer's ID, it's customer. See that? Customer ID I added as a customers at the C. This is a customer ID, not the customer. And also make sure to check the name of the another table. That's customers, and I have ID. That's ID. So this should be fine now. Execute. See that? Command completed successfully. Now I want to add another one, another foreign key. I'm going to do, let's say I'm going to do the same thing with the product untitled table. Orders. Order key. Now I want to connect. What I want to connect now? I want to connect. So I connected the customer's ID with the customer ID here from the order, but I want to have connect the product ID from the order table to the product ID in product table. So I alter table orders a foreign key. Now we're gonna do add, and then we're gonna add the product ID. I wanna add foreign key on this one, product ID. Product ID. And then reference it to what? References to the product ID. Look, so I want to add a foreign key within orders table. That's order table on product ID in orders table. Reference it to the product table, which is this one, on the ID. I want to map this product ID from the orders table to the ID in products table. Command completed successful. If you go back to the tables, let's go back and refresh the database. Look now in the tables now where we have customer at keys. Go back to orders now. Look at the orders now, columns. Look in the orders. I have that's the unique key. When the primary key that we just created, but we created two new foreign keys. One for the customer ID, one for the product ID. So I linked, which is I mapped or linked customer's ID in an order table with the ID in a customer table, and also product ID in a order table with the ID in a product table. Now we can do a join. Now we can join a table. How are we gonna join the table now? Let's select all from DBO. Oh, you know what? Let's just you know what? I'm just gonna have a new query now. Will be better. So we can have a full screen now. Zoom in. Okay, select all from DBO orders, right? And then I want to join, inner join. What does inner join mean? There is an inner join, there is a left join, and there is a right join. There is a full outer join. So the inner join, what does that mean? Anything matched. If you go back here, anything matched with the table. For example, here I have a customer 1 4 2 1. When I'm going to join this table with this table. I'm gonna have all the records, but except 3. I'm not gonna see 3 with the ID number 3, because the person in ID number 3 did not buy anything from here. I'm not gonna have him. And for the right side, let's say from the right and left, if this is gonna be left, this is gonna be right. I'm gonna have everything from the right, match or not match. On the right side, only the match, but the left side will be full. The same way, right side. If this is right, this is left. The same way. It's just gonna be the opposite. Full, I'm gonna have full. I'm gonna have everybody here and everybody here. Full, match or not match. That's exactly what does that mean. So let's go back. Inner join. We're gonna do inner join on what? We're gonna inner join on product. Let's say dbo.product. We want to join this on product. On what? Let's go back here. On product ID from the order table equal to product ID from the product table. So if you go back here, on let's get order. See that orders dot product ID equal product table comma the product ID. Did you see that? So what I did join, let's go back again. I joined order table on because I want to join the order table with the product order table with the product table. So I'm going to join them what is the most common things here? The product is match this product. That's the most common things to do here. So back here, if you select all of them, look, I got everything. Order ID, customer ID, customer ID, product ID, and I have ID. That's the ID belong to the ID product. It didn't have the name. I supposed to just rename it, but it's okay. Product name and the price. Now I want to join, but this is belong to who? I don't know who bought this, what his name or something. So I want to join the customer. I want to see those names. So now what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do another inner join. Inner join is gonna be a customers, right? It's gonna be a customers now here. On what? So the customers is gonna join customers ID from the customers ID. That's from the order. Let's say this is gonna be order, right? So you're not gonna confuse now. Order, let's say orders table, and customers ID equal to customers table and customers ID. Look what I did again here. I joined the order table with the customer table, but on what? Customer ID from order table with ID customer from the customer table. So go back again, execute. Look, I got full information now. So now I know that okay, let's just get rid of those IDs here. Let's get rid of those IDs. See that when you design, you just have to be patient when you design, especially with the ID. Especially with the ID, because you don't want to see the ID here. So the ID is supposed to have like ID customer or something, or ID person in the customer, like in the first place. See that when you design the table, you're supposed to have like an ID here, ID person or something. So it will be very good to have it. Anyway, so I see that. So now I know order. I know like this person, John, he bought 2 products, right? No, John, he have 1 order. No, he actually have 2 orders. He bought a TV, furniture, and he also, John, he bought a laptop. See that, the product ID. A customer here. Only you don't see Sarah, because Sarah did not buy anything here from those, and because we are doing inner joint, only the matching. So Sarah with ID number 3 did not buy anything, so it's not gonna show us. So back again here. So and then like Mosh here, what did he buy? He bought a laptop. He bought a laptop. How many? He got only 1. He bought a laptop. There is no ID here. That's his ID. Josh's ID is 2. That he bought a laptop here. And also for Mo, ID 4, customer ID, he have only 1. He bought only TV. You see that? And let's just filter those stuff here, like here. I don't want to see this ID and this ID here. Just complicated. So I'm just going to get rid of them. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to try to filter here. Instead of have all asterisk, let's say what I'm going to do now, you can do something called alias. Like for example, the orders here, instead of type orders dot, I want an alias. I don't want to see the orders anymore. I want to type orders name. I want to have some kind of alias. So let's say I'm gonna orders as O. O, that's mean, what does this mean? Orders mean I alias it, I give it a new name. Orders, just a temporary. I have to get rid of the orders and just add O. And then the orders, this things here, O again. You see, this is all gone. And then also for the a product, I want to have alias also. I want to have a product as what? Product as B. So product, I have to get rid of this product, and also for a customer, I want to have a customer as C. That customer here, so I have to get rid of this and just add C. If you execute, it's all the same. So now what we're gonna do now, on the select, I don't want to see all those things. I want to see, okay, let's say I want to see the first name. Okay, I want to see the first name. So I want to see the first name from one. First name is belong to the customers. So it's gonna the customer, I alias the customer as C. So I'm gonna have C dot what? That first name. See that? First name. And also I want to see C dot last name. Also, what else you want to see? Last name. So first name, last name. Let's say I'm gonna see age. Okay, so I'm gonna see customer age. I want to see his age also. I want to see his phone number. Customers, the phone number. So I'm done with the customers. Now let's go to the second. The second, I want to see what? I want to see the order ID. I don't want to see the order ID. Again, nothing to do with my order. I want to see that. I want to see the product ID. I want to see the customer ID and the products. Yeah. No, I want to see the product. Order. Customer 3. Customer ID. Yeah, let's see this. Okay, so just forgot about the IDs. So and then orders, and then I want to see the product name. So I'm gonna have a product name will be P dash product name, and then I want to see the product price. And also, what do you want to see? First name, last name, age, product name, product ID, customer ID, and order ID. Let's have the customer ID and customer product. So we're gonna have order dot customers ID, and also orders dot product ID. We're just gonna get rid of those things here. We should be okay. Click OK. See that? Did you see that? Okay, so you have first name, last name, age, phone number, and product and price. Product, this is, look here. Here, as you can see, we got this now. We have John 2 times now. John bought what? Product ID 3, which is he bought a TV. So John bought laptop, and John he bought a furniture, and Mo he bought a TV. Mosh he bought a laptop. Only one laptop. So now, in order to do a sum, like how you gonna do a sum? How you gonna do the sum? So let's go back here and then add comma. We wanna see the, let's say, product dot price, but I wanna sum that I wanna have, okay, between 2 parentheses, open parentheses, close parentheses, and just gonna add sum here. Sum. When you're trying to add the sum, there is things coming up. When you add those names, you need to have, because we add sums here, we need to have a group by. So we're gonna be group by what? Everything on the top, everything before the sum. Let's select. Sorry, where does that come from? Execute. What is that C? We know the C comes from the table. 1 second. Now, in order to get that things right, so I want to see the sum of the price. The product gave me error because remember that I aliased the product. So product to P. So product to P. So now if you execute, it didn't give me the sum. Okay, so what is the sum? Let's alias the sum as total price. executes total price, but it did not sum, because you have to get rid of those columns come from different, so from the product and the order, so get rid of them. So, and then yes, delete the comma, let's execute. Now give me the subtotal, give me the total price. Now if you see the, like John, this is gonna be unique. So John, he spent $249, and Mosh, he spent $149, and Mo, he spent $149. So I think we're all done now. And yeah, that's some. If you wanna get the average, you can get just change this to average. What else? I think pretty much we covered everything. So thank you very much, guys, and if you need any help, just please comment in the comment section. If you have any question, I will answer it. Thank you very much, guys, and have a nice day.